Robert Mitchell has been a council member for the city of Charleston's District 4 area, representing the district on city council. Now he's asking residents to give him 4 more years to tackle issues such as flooding, housing, jobs, and more. I talk one-on-one with the councilman for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Councilman Robert Mitchell, welcome back to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Glad to be here, Quintin. Glad to be here.
I appreciate it greatly. I know that obviously you're the council member for District 4, which covers the East Side, Rosemount, obviously Bridgeview Apartments, Joyce and Floyd Manor, Mezquite, Wagsboro, Cannonboro, Elliotboro.
Oh, yes.
And tomorrow, obviously, is election day, and you face another guy in the race for District 4.
Right.
Let me ask you, who is Councilman Robert Mitchell right now?
Well, Robert Mitchell is a person that's always been a community person, and I'm still that community person, working for the betterment for everyone who live in District 4 and in the community, so to speak. Although we represent a district, we also represent the city of Charleston. So, we have to make sure that we are looking out for our constituents that we represent, but looking at what's going to happen in the other areas also, because we have to vote on those things when it comes before council. So I consider myself as a servant of the community.
Of the community. You talk about everyone, and the biggest complaint I've received from a lot of the District 4 residents, Mr. Councilman Mitchell, is that you don't support Black people. And in an editorial in the Post and Courier, someone said that you're actually in line with the white rich folks, according to those particular people. What do you say to that?
I say it's some misinformation, and with the misinformation, it's a lie. I have to call it the way it is. I said, take a look at me. I was out here in this community working a long time. Then even on the East Side, when they say you're not doing anything, I have put $17.5 million on the East Side. That's more money that have been placed in any one of the other community I represent. So if it's I'm not doing anything and I'm looking out for the rich, looking for the wealthy, they got the wrong information. I don't know where they're getting the information from, but that's a misinformation.
What is your relationship with the African Americans on the East Side of Charleston?
Oh, I'm out there every night, and I have good relationship with the people, with the African American, and with the others also, because I have a very diverse district.
Yes,
and they'll tell you that I'm out there all over the place, and I represent everyone that's living in District 4. I attend all the neighborhood association meeting, which is 7 various neighborhood association meetings that I have. So I attend all of them, and if you ever speak with one of them, they'll tell you I'm there. I try to be truthful and I be transparent, and that's the way I always been. And I said, I'll have to tell lies because you're going to come back on you, and I'll have to tell lies to come back and tell another lie and tell another lie. So I feel if you start with a lie, you're going to end up with a lie.
What are the lies and what are the truths when it comes to District 4?
Well, the truth is that when people are writing things and saying that Councilman Mitchell don't do anything for the East Side, look at the money that has been spent on the East Side. So far as Julian Devine Center, so far as the pool, the covering up the pool. So far we have South Carolina State University coming. It took me 5 years before the DOT turned that property over to us. But now that building is already completed. All is under my watch. Also the covering of the MLK pool,
right,
which is a lot of money that went there. And with the housing that we built, the affordable housing that we built,
right,
this is a mixture on the gray site. Then we're also having the James Lewis complex coming on board soon. But this is going to have an incubator there to be able to, teach young men and women how to open a business, start a business, and everything. So when they leave there, they'll be opening their own business. So all these things, and also there, they're going to have a small cafe in that same area that people can take out, buy things and take it out. It's not going to be a sit-down restaurant. It's going to be like a cafe. We'll put some low tables outside. They can wait on their orders. So all of these things have been done on the East Side. And it's right in the midst of the African-American community in which everybody can use it. So I don't know what they're talking about when they're saying those things. So when you come, I say have your facts together when you say these things, because I have facts behind me.
Mr. Councilman, let me ask you this. With that incubator, obviously you're bringing that to that particular area of the District 4, how many Black-owned businesses do you want to recruit to District 4 in the next 4 years?
Well, to me, I'm trying to recruit as many as I can, because one time, if you remember, every mom and pop store in the city of Charleston at one time was African American. Now you can only probably find one which is one right next door to my house on King Street. He has opened a little store there. So you won't find too many really in the city of Charleston right now, in the peninsula. So if we can teach them how to open a business and how to run a business, I believe it's going to change the ramification of some of us opening stores and teaching them what they need to have to open a business, what goes along with opening a business, and maybe this might help.
What are the other ramifications when it comes to minority-owned businesses in District 4?
Well, sometimes it takes the money to open it and the know-how. You see, and that's something they're losing because we have a lot of people coming here with a lot of money, and which the African American people don't have it. So when they go to the bank, sometimes they can't get the loans to open it, a small business loan. They don't have the assets behind them to do so. So that was kind of hinder them, if you may, in opening small businesses. But we need to change that. We as a city of Charleston, we are doing some good work, but we have a lot of work to do. I always say it's always time for always wait for improvement.
Speaking of improvement, Councilman Mitchell, let me ask you this. How do you hope to strengthen your relationship with the African Americans on the east side of Charleston, Rosemount, George Floyd Manor, Bayside?
Well, the way you're doing it, I'm pushing Rosemount right now. I mean, the Bridgeview Apartments, which was changed from Bayside, Bridgeview Apartment, to try to start their residence area again. At one time, when I was on council in the beginning, I pushed and had them to have their residence association. And over the period of years, it went away. So they need to get back with that. So working with in housing all my life, I believe with the residents, if you have those type things, you can fight more with togetherness as your tenant association, but you still have a neighborhood association that's outside of the parameter to even work along with you. But you need to have your tenant association there because your tenant association would know all what's going on and what's happening. And when they need help, they come out to the neighborhood association, but I'm there to help them because I would attend their tenant association also once they created. Because one time also in Meeting Street Manor, they had a big tenant association also. That's not as large as it used to be. Everything kind of seemed like it fell to the wayside. So we need to get back to that. The residents there need to get back to that. The residents there need to get involved where they live and get involved. So when they're having problems, they can go to their tenant association. When they have problems, then they can spread out to the neighborhood association. But the council member would be there because I'll be attending those meetings also to see what's happening and knowing what's going on. And I can explain to them exactly what HUD says because those are federal projects, right? Federal housing, public housing, if you may. I don't like to call them projects. They're federal public housing.
What are the problems in those particular areas?
The people are not taking everything serious sometimes. And we have a lot of young people there that's not taking it serious, even when it comes to election. Election is very, very, very important and very serious because we make the decision where they live. So they have to really get involved in this, any type of election. All election is important, but the local election is very important because we make the decision where they live. So this is the thing I try to educate the people in the community, the African American community more, because most of the others, they will learn about these things and also learn what type of government that we have here as municipal government in the state of South Carolina and in the city of Charleston, what a council member can do and what they can't do. We can do all these things, but by right, some of the things we cannot do because under home rules, we can't. So you have to learn those things and we have to be educated to those things. And we have to get thinking out of the box sometime to me.
How do you break that down to the average citizen who eventually complains that you are not doing enough for them?
By doing the same thing, and I'm talking with them, educating them, and showing them what I'm talking about, not just using words and kind of giving them the information that they can have and reading the information to them and helping them decipher those information. Because sometimes the information is sometimes over their head. So I'm out there trying to talk with them and explaining to them exactly what it is and bringing other people along with me, in the area, in the community, who's aware of those things so they can explain to them too. Because sometimes you have to get people who they can relate to in the community. And so that's what I work with people in the community doing that, who they can relate to and they'll listen more, you can get their attention. And that's why I'm in the street at night till 12:30 at night and sometime 1 o'clock. So I can really conversate with some of the people in the community and conversate with some of the people on the streets that they consider is causing the crime or causing this or causing whatever they cause problems.
Let me get to that. The opponent in your race allegedly wrote in a door hanger that 100 murders in the district is 100 murders too many. And he wants to basically create a violence intervention program within the city of Charleston. Let me ask you, Mr. Councilman, how many years would it take to get to at least 100 murders in your district?
It probably take, to me, must be 50 years because in the last, what we can say from 2010 to 2021, which is 11 years,
right,
we didn't have 100 murders. And I have those facts also.
Right.
So I have those facts in my, with the information I received when I pulled the stats down. There's not there was, see, and one thing, you cannot put all together because some is incident and some is victim murders. So all of them is not really manslaughter murders that a victim have done or somebody have created. Some is murder, some of incident that happened with a person got killed in a car accident, some that die in other incidents, but you don't link all that together. So if you look at the ramification of what the murders are since 2000 to 2021 from 2010, which is 11 years,
right,
there's not 100 murders. So I have those stats and I have those as facts. I don't talk about things unless I have facts to back me up. And I have the facts because I had those pulled already. So I don't know where to get the 100 murders from. It must be 20 or 30 or 40, 50 years ago. But I'm not going back 50 or 50 years ago because we are talking about now. We're talking about within the past. We always go back within the past 10 years. What happened in 10 years? And I said before then, yes, we used to have a lot of murders because we used to have 13 and 14 homicides every year. Those days are gone. So if you look at what's happening now, we have sporadic things happening, but it's not like it used to be. So I don't know where to get the information from, what it is, but they must be going back 100 years or 50 years.
Now, how many murders have occurred in your district in the past 4 years?
In the past 4 years, if you look at the past 4 years, you'll probably figure it's about might be 10. I believe it's about approximately about 10, but it's between 5 and 10. Because you have someone in public housing, that's happening, 2 or 3 there, two there, and you had a couple that's on Lee Street. That was another 2. Another 1 because 1 died and one just got shot in the leg. So if you look at that, it was probably about totally, I figure about 10 at the most, 10 or 12 at the most.
At the most. How could you explain to the constituents that the city police department is doing something to curb violence in your district?
Well, we had the elimination project, which is part through the city of Charleston, along with the police department, and along with a couple of ministers working with the community, bringing the community together, finding the problems in the community, trying to solve it, getting with all the department heads and trying to bring people together to try to stop these violence.
Right.
That, when they have things going on, they try to come up with solution of these things with crime is going on. But crime itself, like I always, and that's my opinion, crime itself will be eliminated when people who are committing the crime stops. And that's hard to do. You can't stop a person from committing a crime because the police officers going to arrest you after the crime is committed. So that's not stopping the crime. Cameras are up there as a deterrent and it might help, but that's still not going to stop the crime. Because we had cameras up there all the time. Ever since Representative Gilliard started with the cameras and with the body cameras for the police officers.
Right.
Has that stopped it? No, it's not going to stop. So you can create all these things, but it's not going to stop the crime. You're trying to do things to help lower the crime, if you may, and that's what we're doing every day. And I'm out there talking to young people, but then it's up to them to hear what you're saying and try to put those weapons down or guns down. But then since now the state have passed open carry, it's going to be hard because everyone can carry a gun now and the police officer can't even stop them to ask them if they have a weapon unless they commit a crime, and then they would ask them, do you have a concealed weapon permit? So these things is not working together so far as I'm concerned. And that's my opinion. How could you stop it when you're having everybody carrying a gun?
What is your 5-point plan to really lower crime in your district?
still working with the Citizen Advisory Committee, with the police department, also still working with the young people that's in the community, talking with them face to face, getting that relationship with them, and hoping this would help. Because if you look at the crime, you see in North Charleston, you see them marching every day and say, put the guns down, put the guns down. And right there in North Charleston last week, they had another shooting. So you got to still keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing and hope. You can bring people in to talk, but do the people going to listen to them? That's not going to work that way. You have to be out there in the vineyard. You have to be out there talking with them. And maybe this might help a lot, because if they see you talking with them and say, hey, look, I'm out here too. My life for a thing, but come on, put the guns down. Let's stop with the crime. Let's kind of do it a different way. We can always find a different way. We are smart people, so don't let people think that we all do nothing but killing people, causing crime. We can do better than that. So this is the things I try to push and work with young people and work in the community to get them to understand.
And let me ask you this. Obviously, as you know, and many people, other people know in the district, the East Side and really District 4 has been gentrified. And certain people who have been living here for a limited time, according to the longtime residents, feel that those people who are moving in are privileged. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, because they're not working together. I always inform anyone. If you move in a community, doesn't matter who you are. If you move in the community, you work with the people that you find in that community. If you work in harmony and peace with the people in the community, not saying that you're going to agree on everything, but you can work with them and you can make things easier and things can get done more by working together. But once you cause a split and they feel that you're throwing them under the bus because you figure that you have, quote unquote, all this money and they don't have it, they feel that now you thinking that you are better than them, and that's what's happening on the East Side. They figure that people are moving in and trying to take over what they have and not even including them in this process. And that's where we have a bad problem with that. And that's the problem that I have seen on the East Side since I've been there, since this new day, if you may.
And what exactly is that process?
That process is they're buying the homes, but whom are they buying the homes from? The African American, because they were there all the time. We on the East Side, we were the population of us was there on the East Side. Now it has changed because we have, I put myself, we in there, have sold out the properties that we have that was left to us by our parents, our grandparents. And some of the kids don't get together to work and fix the house up, pay the taxes, and they sell it for little or nothing. And when they sell the house, someone else purchased the home. But when they purchase these homes, that is purchased it, they can't rent it because it's too high. The rent is so high that they cannot rent the house. In South Carolina, we don't have what we call rent control,
right,
like in New York we have. So a person can rent their house for whatever they want to rent it for. And if you can rent it, you rent it. If you can't, you can't. But then sometimes I look at it and I don't know if that is designed for it. I don't know. My opinion, that's my opinion on it. If it's designed, so if it's designed that way to keep you out from renting it, then that can gentrify the area more because you're not going to be there because you're not going to afford to stay in that particular area and rent these houses when it comes to rent anyway.
Yes, sir. And I tried my hardest, and I normally don't make any comments on my interviews. And I try to be as fair and balanced and unbiased as possible.
Yes, you do.
I did try to ask Mr. Tim Weber about the same question I just asked you. And thank you for asking those questions as well. But unfortunately, he stormed off. He claimed that I was creating a racial divide with my interviews, and I'm not. And let me make it abundantly clear. I want to, make a disclaimer. I'm a lifelong resident of the East Side, born and raised on the East Side. I went to Fraser. I went to Sanders Clyde. I went to Courtney Middle School, Burke High School. I know and seen how the East Side has changed. And yes, there is gentrification according to a lot of people there. And that's all I was trying to do, get information from him and get his perspective about gentrification. But unfortunately, he walked away. So I just want to let the viewers know that I tried. I tried.
Since I knew you, Quintin, you have always been the same way since I met you. And the same questions you ask me or ask anyone else, you're going to ask me a tough question like you ask anyone else.
Yes.
You don't pick sides.
No,
you get involved in that since I know you. That's why, and any one of the council members will say the same thing. Sure. They know that you ask the tough questions.
Yes.
If you can't answer a question, just say, I can't answer it.
That's it.
Leave it alone.
Leave
And
it
that's
alone.
what I would do. If I don't know it, I said, well, Quintin, I'll get back with you on that one. But I said, right now, I better not answer that because I don't know the facts.
Right.
And I'm not going to answer a question if I don't know I have the facts to back it up. So I'm not going to do it. I'll tell you right now. I said, well, Quintin, I said, I'm not sure with that one. I'll get back with you on that. And that's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
You don't put out things when you don't know about it. Have your facts there. Have facts. And I believe that not putting things out to people for scare tactics or anything else like that, you don't do that. You always have facts behind it. Don't say it because you have a mouth you can say things with. Have your facts behind you. And so when someone comes, you can pull it and say, here you go. Here's the facts. I have those facts on my phone. I have whatever I'm saying, I have facts to back me up with it. And these are facts. You see, so that's the way I kind of live. So I can show people in the community, these are facts. I'm not just saying it to be saying it. This is what happened. I was working with the bridge mitigation when the bridge went down. You see, and that's before I won council the first time, before I left council. And a lot of people don't know I left council and stayed up a term before I came back.
Yes, sir. And talk to me more about that. Because they're saying your opponent wrote on vote4on1.org that you've been on council allegedly for 28 years. Is that true?
No way. I was on council the first time for a term, one term. And that was from 98 to 2002 when reapportionment came. And when reapportionment came, the district I represent and the district a young man who was on council was representing was merged together. And I told the young man that I'm not going to run because I'm not going to run against another African American. That's the truth. And that's the way it is. So I said, I'm going to pull out. You're a young man. Go for it. And that's when I pulled out and I stayed up council that term. And then he left council. In 2005 and 2006, I ran back for council, and 7 people ran when I put my name back in there because the people in the community called me back. And that's why I came back on council in 2006. So right now, I have been on council straight for almost 16 years since I was back.
Yeah.
Period. So if you look at 16 years, and if you want to count the 4 years I've been on before, that's only 20 years. But when you leave, that's split time. You came back as a new day. When I came back in 2006, that was a new day. That's not added to what you had before. So it's 16 years since I've been back, from 2006 to the present day.
What will be a new day under your leadership if you're reelected?
Well, a new day under me now is still providing some more housing, still working with the stormwater to try to come up with some more money to be able to do a lot more with this drainage system. We have finally got the drainage system working on by Eugene King.
Right.
And that was going on since I was a little boy here. I was born and raised in Charleston, so that was going on since I was going to school in Charleston back here. And so now we are working on that. And once we finish that, then we'll go on and try to do something else. But it takes money, money. So we are still trying to work with the state to see if the state will give us some more money to kind of do some other things with. And when COVID came, COVID kind of knocked us for a loop a little bit because that's when our budget just went way out of whack. We just didn't have the money. And so when people come and ask me, oh, Councilman Mitchell, we can do it. I said, we don't have the funds. Oh, you always say we don't. I said, well, you want the truth? We do not have the funds. There's a lot of community organization came to the city to try to get funding for their organization. We had to turn them down because we didn't have the funds. What we did is went and borrowed money against our reserve to keep our employees working. So if we didn't have our employees working, then the people in the community wouldn't get no service, and that'd be unjust. So we went and borrowed money against our reserve to keep people working, like the sanitation and all the low-lying employees working. And that's what we did. So people should understand what we tried to do and try to do the right things for the community. It wasn't for us, but it was for the community. So people can still receive the services that they was used to receiving. And that's one thing that we did. And you'll find some other municipalities didn't do that. They laid people off, they fired people, but we didn't want to do that because people was having a hard time enough.
What services does your district need right now, Councilman?
Right now, the service that the district needs, I think we need more in recreation for young people. We have a lot of recreation things there, but we need to kind of brush it up a little more and make it more viable for the young people there. with more teaching, and things like that, with more teaching with the people in the community. We got services for them, but I think we can do better, because even with the parks and recreation we have, sometimes they only let the African American kids play against the African American kids, which is wrong, and that's one thing I'm going to have to fight for and change that. Because we go to high school, we play against everybody. We play against each other. So a lot of things need to be changed in the recreation department, and that's why I think we need to have for the young people, because we have to teach them. And I always believe in teaching them, so when they grow up, they can learn these things and know these things. And I think sometimes they're lacking for that teaching of what's happening in the community that they live in.
And not to beat up on Mr. Weber, and this is not an anti-Tim Weber interview at all. I'm pretty sure he's a nice guy. I've never met him personally, but I was trying to get with that question that you were just talking about in recreation, but he didn't want to hear that, so I don't know what to do. But let me ask you, how many children in District 4 have graduated thus far over the past 4 years?
From high school, or just from
elementary school to high school?
Well, I think it's very poor. I think it's about 30. I think about 35 to 45%, and that's because the racial things have changed so much in the school itself. So that's what's happening, And the school system, to me, like we don't run the school system, but we work with the same people.
Right.
The parents of these young people is our constituents. So we have to work with them one way or the other, because we serve their parents.
That's
so we have to work with their parents to work with the young people in the schools. So all this works together, because that's our constituents.
That's what I was trying to get at the other day in that last interview.
Oh, well, I didn't really listen to it. So, but this is what it is. So we have to work in conjunction with one another. So when we work with our constituents and their kids are having problems, we can say, okay, we need to do this and so, because you are our constituents and that's your child. And he goes to this school or that school. So we can try to kind of give you some input in what they can do. And we can also ask the school system itself. We can ask, look here, we having problems in the community. I think you need to work more with these young people that's going to these schools, that's coming housing that's low income so far as the kids is concerned, to make sure that we give them what they need to have. So we as a council member still have to do that also. We have to work with them also. And that's what I do.
Yes, sir. And what exactly are your solutions to working or really strengthening the relationship between the city of Charleston and the Charleston County School District for your constituents?
Well, what we do, we are starting something new, and we had it before when the previous mayor was here. We have the superintendent to come to city council once a year and to give us a report, if you may, and explain to us what's going on with the school and what's happening. And then we are able to ask questions, and then we can fill in right there. If they'll keep us abreast of what's going on so far as the school is concerned, because it's located in the city of Charleston, we can kind of shed some light on it by talking to our constituents who are the parents of these young people.
Yes, sir.
So that's one thing that we was doing before, and we kind of got away from it, so we just have to get back to it.
Now, obviously, I don't want to make the interview all about the east side, but let me ask you, because obviously you cover Rosemount, you cover Cannonboro, Ansonboro, all of those areas, Mazik, Ragsboro, whatnot. But let me go back over to Hughes Street. What is the total project budget for this?
Oh, boy. It's a lot. I can't give you the direct figure, but it's a big figure. Because right now, they're only doing the pipes and putting the pipes in. But once they finish the pipes, then they're going to have to do the pump station that would be located on the Housing Authority premises on Hughes Street. Right. So that's why this particular, what they're doing now with the drainage part of it and the pipes, that takes from 3 to 4 months. You see, so they wouldn't be finished with that until probably, hopefully, December. Then they'll move on and start working on the pump station. So we had people to come by and look at it and explain to them, even on site, right on Instant Home, and let them look at it and see how the pump station will be, and this will be the next phase. And see, all this money is coming through. Some of the money is coming through and coming from the TIF, that's what you call the East Side TIF.
Right.
And that's how that money is coming through. It's like some of the East Side TIF money is being used for the smokestack.
Right.
And see, my thing in the beginning, and I'm not going to lie about it, but in the beginning, I didn't feel the smokestack was really the things that we should put the money into, because when we voted for it, the money was going to go for drainage and housing and other things, not the smokestack. So, but the community wanted the smokestack there. So once the community wanted the smokestack to stay, then I said, okay, that's what the community want. Then I supported it. But in the beginning, I said, no. I said, that money could be used to put in the community, because the smokestack could only be used for what? Nothing, just to look up at and look at it and pass by. It's not a historical factor. It's just an icon standing there. It's not historic because you can't use it for anything else. All you can do is look at it. So that's a lot of money we're putting into it. And we're going to have more money to do it, because we're only doing the inside of it, the interior of the smokestack. So the outside is still going to have to be done with the smokestack. And I just, at the time, a lot of people said, but tear down, a lot of tear downs. Some of the people in the community said, well, no, we want it to stay. Okay. But my father gave me the history about the smokestack when we were living right down Hanover Street, right by it, 3 doors from Lee Street. So I know the history of the smokestack, of what it caused, and what it caused to the community was a health factor, because the smoke was going on, because there was an incinerator there. And the incinerator, they burned everything in there, all from the hospitals and everything burned there, and it came out through the smoke, through the smokestacks, and all the particle was coming down the community and became a health problem. So that's when they closed it. So I learned all that stuff when I was younger. My father told me about it. You see, so it's, it's, the people wanted it, and we put $500,000 to do what we're doing now, just the interior. But you're going to need more money to do the outside. So that $500,000 could have been working with the drainage on the east side to help out with that. And that's what we voted years ago to do with the TIF money.
Right.
But then, since the community wanted, I supported it. And that's community. So when the community wants something, I don't go against the community like that.
Now, let me get back over to Hugie and King. I was just running past there just yesterday, actually.
All right.
Do you know what's the drainage fund right now?
Not really. I know it's a high amount, but I can't tell you the true figure. I don't want to put the wrong figure out, but I know it's in the millions, but I can't tell you exactly what it is.
Do you know how much money is coming from the Charleston water system as far as reimbursement?
No. I heard about it. It was just discussing that, and Keith Waring is on that committee, and they talked about it, but we haven't really got all into that, so I don't want to give the wrong figure.
Sure.
I'm not going to do it.
Right, I understand that. But do you foresee this project budget to be expended over the next 4 years, Councilman?
I believe so, because it's going to have to be extended. Once this project here is completed, then it'll be a start on another project. But then this particular project should be able to take some of the water coming from Meeting Street and coming from the area on East Bay Street, if you may.
Right.
Because that drainage system would go all the way out to the Market Creek.
Right.
So that would kind of help out some there a little bit. Then we need to start going back inside of the east side, if you may, because this is the east side TIF money that we're going to be using. So we have to go back into the east side.
How much money is that coming from the TIF, the east side TIF?
Well, right now, it's a couple of $1 million right now. So that's why that money is going into to do this right now with this drainage. But then also they're talking about for the Hugie Street streetscape.
Right. Oh yes.
See, so that's another thing coming up, but that's part of the east side TIF. So that can be used for the east side TIF anyway. So that's another thing we're looking at. But then to get that done, they have to talk to the church there, because they might have to use a small portion of their building. So I don't know if that's going to happen. So we are still in negotiation with that. They're still talking to the church, with the Refuge Church, about that.
I want to go over to Cooper and Jackson, obviously right near Sanders Clyde. But do you know what the project cost will be for that?
For Cooper and
Jackson.
That particular project, anything that's being built, see, a lot of them is going to be absorbed too by the builders there.
Okay.
Who is taking in some things. They have to put the underground, if they may, some kind of water things to pull some of that water off America Street, if you may, in that particular area. So the same thing when South Carolina State University built, they have that reservoir under the building that would absorb some of that water. That's you see always in the middle of that street.
Right.
So that would help out that. That's not the drainage system. But then if you're building there and you're building an area that floods, you're going to have to help out with that portion of it.
Speaking of American Street, Councilman, do you know how many people live on the projects from Stewart Street all the way to Chapel?
Oh boy, it's hard to say because you have a lot of kids. Now between the two, you can probably say 500 or more, because with the 200 and something, 400 and something units, you got a lot of kids there too. So when you look at a lot of kids there, that's a whole lot of the population would be more than you think it is when you including them into that category. Just the same thing as Bridgeview.
Yes.
Bridgeview might have a 325 units, which is 325 apartments at 325 people. But when you have 3 to each house or 2 to each household, you see the population how it grows that way.
What is the future of public housing on the east side? How can you help these people stay in their living, environment, stay where they need to be as far as getting housing for them?
The thing is, so the public housing, if you may, is federal. So all that guidelines come from the federal. But the only thing that the city do is that when the people who are sitting on the board, we vote for the board members. That's how the state of the city go. But we work with the housing authority when they come and when they want to do other buildings, because you have to go through our planning commission and our zoning commission and all this. So what we're doing is trying to give them some higher density, if you may, with the complex that's on America Street, that if they build, tear down and build, we can give them density to go higher. And that would help to bring some more housing for people to be able to afford in there. And they're going into the RAD program now, so the RAD program's a little different from what they call the planned public housing. Everything on the public housing is not going to be based on income. That's going to change. HUD is like pulling out of that, and the HUD is telling the housing authority, you're going to have to manage these things now. You're going to have to manage it yourself. So you're going to have to get people who are paying on there to keep it operating for renovation. So some of the units going to be based on income, but not all. So that's the new day. This happened in Columbia. This happened in Greenville, Spartanburg, but they did it years ago. But we as the city of Charleston here, the housing authority here, waited till the end to do it. So now when they wait to the end, everybody's getting in the uproar. You see? So if they had started a long time ago, when it first came out, when it was going to the RAD program, they could have been easing it into it, and they wouldn't have looked so like everything is going haywire.
Let me ask you this question, Councilman. How do you keep Black people, the African American people who've been on the east side for a long time, there?
Well, that's hard. By really, the biggest thing is they have to work together. The main thing is we have to work together and be village. What we have, try to hold on to what we have and working together and not giving it away. Because if you remember the east side, all the houses, most of the houses there you see was owned by them. But these senior citizens, older people die out. And they left the homes to their children. And just let it go. They fight among themselves. I don't know why we do it, but that's one thing that happened and caused a lot of homes to be lost on the east side. Because most of the homes on the east side is historical. So a lot of the homes that you see, some people couldn't afford to fix it back like it was, because that's what the BAR states. You got to fix it back like it was, and it's expensive. So then some people say, we're not going to do that. We don't have the money for it, so they give up on it. So the thing, they sell the property, but they sell it for a little or nothing. I don't mind, I don't stop anyone from selling their home. That's not my job to do that, even when I was working. But I say, if you're going to sell it, you sell it and get something off it so you can buy something somewhere else.
How many homes are currently owned by African Americans on the east side?
Oof. Whew, that's kind of hard to say between all these streets we have. I don't know. I don't really know that question. There might be 500. I don't really know that question right offhand, because it's not the same. You figure Nassau Street is not the same street with it was, and you go to Hanover Street. You might have a few on Hanover Street. You might have a few There's a few on Nassau Street. You might have a few back on Aiken Street.
Right.
So it's not like it was one time I could say, oh, it's 1,000, but I can't say that anymore. And so I think totally the east side, if you look, it might be around 400 people, I think 400 homeowners, something around in that area, 350, 400 homeless. Might be 300. Might be less than that.
Now, how many people who have gotten their homes fixed under the city programs are still living in their own houses and are actually debt-free, Councilman?
Well, most of the people that have come to the city and got their home repaired, or substantial repair, or roof repaired, they're still there. And then, because I'm on that commission, the RPC
Right.
commission,
Right.
and normally it's about probably the people that came through the city, because a lot of people say they don't want the city involved in their property. So if you look at it with the east side alone, it's probably about 75
Okay.
that probably came through the program to get their house repaired and for roof replacement, mostly get roof replacement. You see.
Let me turn over to Joseph Floyd Manham. What is your solution to making certain the residents there have a comfortable living?
Okay, in Joseph Floyd's Manor, that's under the Charleston County Redevelopment Authority.
Right.
And the Charleston County do not own it.
Right.
That's the Charleston County Redevelopment Housing Authority, the same as the housing authority here of the city of Charleston. So what I do, my recommendation, even when I spoke to their board, I'd say the place needs to be torn down. The place is obsolete. It was built in 1950. There have not been any major repairs to that building since it was there. But I told them before they build it down, they need to build where the parking lot is located.
Right.
Build another building there, or if you don't want to build a tall building there, build two other buildings, the same height with the same amount of units in it, and move the people over into that building and tear that old building down and make that the parking area. And the last thing they told me is they don't have any funds. So it's hard to say, what's going to happen, but I'm still trying to push for that. That's going to be my main objective, pushing that, which they are my constituents, but it's under the Charleston Housing and Redevelopment Authority. So we don't have authority over it, but I can still open my mouth and make noise, and that's what I'm still doing with them, because I keep telling them every time, I said, you need to do something. The place is terrible. The place is not fit to me for anybody to be living in some of the units. If you ever go, we had a walkthrough with some of the county council members, myself and state representative and all that. We went there, and it's terrible. I wouldn't want to live in there. So something needs to be done, and I think they say they're working on something or working on something they're going to bring forth, but I have to see. But I'm going to still keep talking with them, because the people in that particular building deserves better.
And I know you have to run to another meeting.
6 o'clock.
Yes.
6 o'clock. Yes.
So it's 5:45 p.m. right here. But let me ask you, what issues will you focus on? And you can tell me this in 4 words. What issues will you be working on if you're elected for the next 4 years?
I'll be working on the crime, housing, the flooding in the community, and working with people trying to get the people to come together to work in harmony and peace, and not with the separation. And like I always tell people, there's one neighborhood association on the east side that's recognized by the city, one, and that's the one I attend. I attend all my neighborhood associations from Mezquite, Ragsboro, all the way to Rosemont.
Right.
And they'll tell you, I'm always there to hear the complaints from my constituents there in the neighborhood association, to work with the neighborhood association. I do not make decisions. Any development that's come to me and speak with me, I send them to the neighborhood association first, and I'll be at the meeting to hear the dialogue of what's going on between the developer and the neighborhood association. The presidents of those neighborhood associations, if you speak with them, they'll tell you, I'm transparent. I'm always available. I don't care what time they call me. They'll get a call right back if I'm on the phone, but otherwise I'm answering the call, and I'm there to hear what's going on. So that's the way I believe I can always be able to serve the people in the community, because I'm there all the time to hear what's happening. And that's the decision I make. So if the neighborhood association is not enthused with what's happening, then I go on the council and ask for a deferral. And I said, let's defer this until the community comes back and hear all what's happening in those developments. And that's what I do. And they'll tell you that right up. I do not do it.
yes or no? Do you want to create a business preservation alliance for the people here on King Street?
I think they have one already, if you ask me. Because the business alliances, I think we still have to go through the city. The city, I don't think it's just to come and do one for the business altogether, unless we as a city want to get involved in that. Because they still have to come through us for the planning part and for anything else that's happening. And we still have to work with the neighborhood association if they're overrunning the community. So what I would say is that we'll have to work that out together. I would have to work with them to see if that's something feasible, if that's something that even the neighborhoods would like to see happening, and if this is going to make a big difference. Because I don't want to get into nothing that's not going to make any difference. If it's going to be the same old, it don't make any sense. Because the businesses are there, but we have to work with them too, with the businesses, because they're zoned for what they're opening for, because they're in general business are there, in that area. So we have to work with them also. So we have to have these meetings. That's why I made them have meetings with the businesses and with the neighborhood association to come up with some kind of plan to see what we can come up with. And whatever come out of that, then I could be able to make a good decision on that.
Councilman Robert Mitchell, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Anytime, Quintin. Thank you very much. And
Thank
you have
you.
a good day.
Likewise.